I'm State Representative Todd Rock. I represent the 90th District in Franklin County. Today I stand before you once again with my esteemed colleagues to reintroduce House Bill 1369, the Strike-Free Education Act. As a prime sponsor of the first bill in this legislative package, House Bill 1369, I am also pleased to stand in support of Representative Metcalf's constitutional amendment that guarantees every Pennsylvania child the right to a strike-free education. Governor Tom Corbett made several interesting observations last month regarding teachers' unions and their effect on public education. To quote the governor, "In the years since teachers unionized, school districts began to focus too much on contracts and too little on curriculum. The education model has shifted to a labor model whose focus has become teacher, parent, child. That's entirely backwards. That is not an educational priority, it's a negotiating strategy." I could not find a more perfect illustration of this backwards negotiating strategy than the fact that during the 2009-10 school year, Pennsylvania once again maintained its status as the undisputed teacher strike capital of the United States, with approximately 34,900 students locked out of the classroom. Now to the fundamental purpose of this legislation. That is, protecting our children and tax-paying families by recognizing in legislative statute that strikes and other types of public school lockouts are prohibited. Once enacted, the threat of teacher strikes, secret behind closed-door deals, and lump-sum retroactive budget-breaking tax bills would be virtually eliminated. This legislation also protects Pennsylvania teachers, both union and non-union, by allowing for guaranteed mediation, fact-finding arbitration, a mandatory vote, and mandatory negotiating, and maximum public transparency to ensure fairness for all. In addition, teachers opposed to strikes are guaranteed the freedom to do their job, which is, of course, to prepare our students for their future. My legislation also respects the collective bargaining process by requiring a mutually agreed settlement without binding arbitration. Increasing the level of public access to the negotiating process will inevitably expose any unreasonable negotiating position to the light of taxpayer scrutiny and facilitate a reasonable settlement. I am a father, a former teacher with 10 years of classroom experience, and a former school board member who believes that teachers should be fairly paid for the meaningful contributions they make towards preparing our children for tomorrow. Without question, I want teachers to receive whatever wage the free market allows and our communities can afford to pay. Speaking from the unique perspective of a former educator who witnessed the aftermath of a teacher strike at Carlisle School District, and even more recently witnessed the teacher strike in my legislative district, I can personally attest that teacher strikes produce no winners. Regardless of the outcome in terms of increased pay or expanded benefits, teacher strikes by their very nature reinforce the stereotype that public school teachers are greedy and as a whole generate nothing but community resentment. Teacher strikes are especially unfair to parents, grandparents, and other parental guardians who have to scramble at the last minute to find daycare for their children so they can earn their paychecks. Unfortunately, the biggest losers in this equation are always the children. Many times treated as mere pawns or bargaining chips, every student impacted by a teacher strike is potentially robbed of educational opportunities, countless other extracurricular activities, and lifetime memories. Finally, I would like to reiterate that Strike-Free Education Act has absolutely nothing to do with punishing or taking rights away from teachers in Pennsylvania. Enacting House Bill 1369 has everything to do with giving something back that is far more important. That is, without question, restoring to every Pennsylvania child the legal right to a strike-free, uninterrupted public education. Thank you.